This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Oh, isn't that hair fabulous? Broadcasting live from the new hotspot on Fort Myers Beach, Wahoo Willies. It's time for another exciting award-winning episode of Beach Talk Radio.
And a good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio for Saturday morning. It's a lovely day on Fort Myers Beach. Please don't adjust my microphone. Don't.
I know, but you're too loud.
The merchandise here. Speaking of merchandise, we have plenty of stuff for a cool day on Fort Myers Beach. Nice hoodies for you if you want to come down, and it's a little bit brisk. You know, it's super nice out in the sun.
Yeah.
If you're standing out in the sun, it's a very nice day. And tomorrow it's a beach cleanup day. We're going to be organizing.
Still too loud.
Am I too loud, Dave?
Yeah.
She's saying I'm too loud. Oh, he said I was too loud. So I'm going to take his word for it. So I'll turn it down a little bit. We're going to be organizing at the big Carlos Pass Bridge on the beach there. You come and get your trash bag and your gloves, and you head on out.
And your waiters.
And your waiters. We put one post out for help with the waiters, and we got 30 pair delivered by Amazon last night. So thank you all for that, for all of your help. And we're going to be going out. Watch tomorrow. We're going to find out who really wants to clean the beach tomorrow. That's what we're going to find out. It's going to be me and 5 people. I'm going to have with long underwear on it and everything. Yeah. So, so let's get right to our guests for the entire hour. We have. These words don't often come out of my mouth. We have the town manager on the show today. So Keith Wilkins is the interim town manager for, I guess, yes, that's going to be your spot.
Let him get settled before you start.
Is it correct that you got 5 months to go, Keith? Is that kind of how it works?
When did the 6-month ticker start?
Our contract runs through May 15th.
May 15th?
Our goal would be by May 15th. Our goal would be by May 15th to have a permanent town manager hired.
So for those,
however, if at that time it can be extended, yes.
If council wants to extend us, yes, it can be extended.
Nice. So for the folks that don't know in our audience, can you tell us a little bit about your company? You and Chris have a company because you have all this experience with managing municipalities and things like that.
Certainly. Chris has a company, H2, and that's who the contract is with. I have a company, KWA, and Keith Wilkins and Associates. And we both did governmental consulting. Before that, I was and we decided to run this contract through his because he had a longer history with corporate experience than I did and hiring people and the W-9s and all that. So anyway, my experience prior to that, I was the city manager for Pensacola, assistant city manager at Pensacola, 6 years there. Mm-hmm. And then at Escambia County, which is the northwesternmost county where Pensacola is, I was the natural resources director, community development director, and a few other things for 17 years there before I came to the city of Pensacola. And prior to that, I had private practice.
And your son just got married.
Yes, my youngest just got married, and New Year's Eve day.
Wow! Congratulations!
Had the reception at our house. New Year's Eve, so it was really a New Year's Eve party. Nice. Had a small fire out front, accidental from my neighbor's fireworks.
Interesting.
So it was everything a good party needs. We had, yes.
So what does a wedding go for these days? Any idea what a wedding?
Oh my gosh!
Well, you
didn't have to pay for that one, did you?
They had the reception. So they had the reception.
The reception was at our house. The
The
wedding was on the beach.
How many people?
Well, that was a good. They're smart.
50, 75 people. Yep, they live in Portland, and so they had to fly here. I'd say $10,000-$15,000 with food, drink, all that kind of stuff for a good wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, so start saving your pennies.
So, so Keith, one of the things we like to do with our guests, just to get them, get the audience to know who they are, is we have this round of speed questions that are.
I'm not good at that, but okay, we'll give it.
Oh, these are easy.
Karen has been. I think she's been a victim of these speed questions.
She's been subjected to this before.
Yeah. So. That's why she's here.
Yeah, I get that kind of support all the time.
I can't find the clock tickers, so we're just gonna reel them off. What is your favorite color?
Green.
Green.
Are you a cat or dog person?
Cat.
Favorite TV show growing up?
Gilligan's Island.
Very nice.
Yes, that's a good
Favorite
one.
movie of all time?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Awakenings.
My favorite movie, and I can't remember the name of it.
What is Awakenings about?
Bad memory.
And Awakenings has a lot to do with that, right?
Right, it does.
I've
You
never
know the
seen
movie?
that. I've never seen that.
Okay.
Who's the most important person that you know outside your family?
Not very fast with that, am
We
I?
don't have to be fast. We have a whole hour.
No.
Uh-oh.
We have a whole hour.
Well,
Okay, I'll think about it.
No, this isn't phone a friend.
Most important person outside of my
No, most
family.
interesting. Most
Interesting.
interesting.
That's what I was
Interesting.
going to
Did I
say.
say important?
You did, and
Oh,
I was
sorry.
like, "That's not it."
No, that would be. I
Interesting.
wouldn't. Yeah, that would put you on the
important,
spot like
that's
that.
weird, but
I love interesting people, quirky people. I have a lot of them as friends.
Yeah.
The most interesting is a community advocate over in Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Okay.
It's a friend of mine.
All right. If you had
If you were going in an RV with somebody across the country, and you could only take one person, not a family member, who would you take?
can't be the same person.
You guys. Because I have that
Could
trip
be.
planned, but it was by myself.
Well,
So-
I love
understand
I
that.
love the
I
solo
understand that.
tripping thing, and this could be someone dead or alive.
I don't want to take a dead person with me.
No. Oh, jeez.
No, but you can
I
bring
get
them
it.
back.
I
To,
get it now. Okay. I don't know.
good thing the
I don't
clock
know.
is not ticking
I
because
should have
you're
sent you these
taking
questions
too
in advance.
long.
Like I said, myself.
Who would you like? Who historically would you like to interview? Let's put it that way.
I don't know. I just don't
Jared,
think
why are you
about that
putting
kind
them
of
on the spot?
stuff.
All right, we have. This will be
I'm
the last.
failing this. Thank
This will
you,
be the
Karen.
last
I'm
one. Then
failing
we'll
this.
get to the government questions after this. What is your? Yeah,
Good
come
one.
on.
Okay,
There's
I
no
knew
secrets here. What is the most embarrassing time of your life? The most embarrassing thing
Oh, I have a lot of
ever
those.
happened to you?
I have a lot of those. I can't tell you the most embarrassing.
Really?
Probably the second most
Okay, we'll go with number 2 then.
That we'll put behind a paywall.
Right. I had a major faux pas early in my career. I worked with removing underground storage tanks from gasoline stations and in environmental consulting. And I removed the tanks in the wrong station.
No way.
Wow.
No way.
Okay,
That's not only embarrassing, that had to be costly.
you get some bells for that
Yeah.
one, Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a client out of that. He went ahead and hired us. And
So do you try and make more mistakes first now because it brings you more business?
my
Is that-
mantra is if you don't make mistakes, you're not trying hard enough.
I see. So let's get down to business here, Keith. You guys have been in town now for several
I
weeks.
was going to ask another background question.
No,
but
come on,
whatever.
dear. We got to get down. We got to get some serious stuff
We have
out
a
here.
whole hour.
Yeah. What,
And I have a
in
short memory.
in your opinion, what kind of financial shape is the town of Fort Myers Beach in?
It's going to be tight for the next, I'd say 2023 and into 2024. It's going to be pretty tight. I mean, it's going to be prioritizing projects and cash flowing because a lot of the FEMA money is reimbursable. So we've got to fund things first and then wait on reimbursement. Sometimes reimbursement is years out with FEMA. So we're going to have to prioritize our projects and cash flow those. Given that, we'll be fine. If we try to do everything at once, we couldn't do it.
Now, is there an opportunity to take out a loan to kind of float stuff in between?
Yeah, actually FEMA has a community assistance loan, but it's capped at like $2.5 million or something. So we are pursuing that. We're pursuing probably dozens of different funding mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
and commercial loans is part of it, but that's probably the least desirable of commercial
Interest
loans
rates are high.
because and banks are asking us to use our ad valorem as security for those
Mm.
loans, and we can't do that.
No.
You said that FEMA's reimbursement takes a while, and so how is the government being funded right now? How?
Well, that's what we were just
Our
talking
government?
about.
Yeah, how? I mean, there's the park. There was no parking. There was no, and I'm sure those aren't the biggest things. There was no parking, and there's no
parking's big.
okay, and but there were no permitting fees.
Right.
So where's the revenue?
Cash reserves.
We're working off our savings right
Okay.
now. Cash flow is just beginning to start. Basically, first quarter of the year was almost zero.
Right.
We had our ad valorem, which is number one, was at about 49%. and everything below that, parking, is all zero essentially. So we're really at about 25% right now of our revenues for general fund operations, and we're working off the savings.
And so
in
the tax base, I mean, you drive down some of the streets and the houses are gone. I mean, did those people already pay their taxes, or are you expecting them to pay their taxes and their house is gone? I mean, how does that all work?
Some had, some haven't. What we've been getting from the tax collector back from the state is about 50%. And I think that they're hedging just because of that. We don't know what they've collected, but that's what they've paid us. And so I'm sure they're hedging because they don't know the future values of these properties. They don't know how much money people really are going to pay, when they're going to pay, if they haven't paid yet. So
Valerie asked a good question. The town borrowed $10 million at some point to take care of Bayside Park and Times Square and Bay Oaks. Mm-hmm. And so what happened? You can't use that money for other things.
Can't use it for other things. And it also required construction be completed by November.
Oh,
and
no
we're
kidding.
not going to make that.
So you got to give it back.
So we may not be able to take advantage of that loan.
Oof.
Well, what about Bayside Park? I mean, can you fix that with the money?
We do. We've got $1 million from FEMA coming for Bayside Park. Plus, it's also eligible for future work. That was an emergency repairs. So we have that coming from FEMA. The loan was commercial. We have that coming from FEMA, and we have future money from FEMA as soon as we, again, prioritize and cash flow it.
So but you can't use that 10 million, part of that
not
10
for
million for
community center
Bayside?
repairs,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I noticed there were weeds growing out of Bayside Park this morning when I were over there.
Oh,
I mean,
let it go.
I saw one yesterday, yeah.
Do we know when they're going to start that? Or I know
Somebody go pull that
I've been
weed
given-
so he'll shut up.
I've been giving Dan a whole bunch of crap for it, but is there a time frame that you know of, or it's just whenever, because the government's the government? It doesn't
The debris
operate.
pile is supposed to be gone by the end of March.
I was talking about Bayside.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bayside. I was thinking Bay
Yeah, I
Oaks.
got Bay Oaks on the questions list, so
Okay,
I drove by
okay.
that today. Wow.
Okay, well, let him answer
Yeah,
this.
the Bayside Park.
I'm not
thing.
sure.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to
All
that
right.
question.
So
Can I just ask a
yes,
general
please
question?
ask a question.
Okay.
Ask
So
the
when
question.
you come into a situation such as this is, what are the priorities that you kind of outline, being that you're here interimly? So what are your priorities other than the one that he
Well,
already talked
obviously,
about?
finance
Mhm.
is huge.
And getting a finance director.
Getting a finance
Oh,
director.
talk
getting
about
a-
harping on something.
getting
You
a
never
town,
let that
getting
go.
a town manager. Finance director is critical. Absolutely. So organizationally, besides the financing, there were a lot of gaps in this organization, and our goal is to fill those gaps. We've been kind of analyzing the organization, where its strengths are, where the weaknesses are. Finance director was one that we didn't have one,
Mhm.
and so that was one of the.
What
What
do
were
you mean?
some
priorities.
other gaps?
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Can you expand?
the
or
last
Well,
time
perhaps-
I'll say human resources as an organizational gap. We had sort of a human resources technician person,
Okay.
but we didn't have a real professional, experienced human resources person. So when we go in to look at what do you pay somebody when you hire a finance director, what do you pay them? Well, we don't have a good, solid pay scale. We don't have a good job description. So we're having to go in and kind of fill in some of those fundamentals. And we've contracted for a pay and classification study to be done to help us with that. So we know how much we solicit. When we solicit a job, how much we've got to pay them.
And you just lost another major employee last week, a utilities director. I mean, you're going to fill that.
We did same thing. We're going to do an interim deal there.
Okay.
Actually, interim right now is Jason Freeman, our public works director.
Covering
interim.
that.
What's that?
He's going to be covering that in addition
He's covering
to his,
both departments, public
Gotcha.
works and utilities for the short term. We may bring in someone with more utilities experience as an interim for a few months until we get somebody hired.
Now, when you were talking about the finances, I know that either you or Chris or somebody with Dan are going to Tallahassee, and you're going to try and shake some financial trees up there and see if those people up there will just write some checks for us, right? I mean,
Correct.
But we need money, and they have money in Florida.
Yeah, Chris is one of his real strengths is Tallahassee and dealing with the legislature. He and Dan will be there next week, meeting with the appropriations chair, and also which is Doug Broxson, who is our senator up in Pensacola, where I'm from. So we have a good relationship with Senator Broxson. So you'll be meeting with him next week. We have a list of appropriation requests that we're preparing right now. Sanibel's prepared theirs. Lee County's preparing theirs. We'd like to go lockstep with them that they make us whole with our revenue losses.
And what are some of the things that you've asked for? What are
Well,
some of the things on that list?
The big one is to make us whole.
Okay.
For that 75% that we're missing right now, maybe at the end of the year, it'll be 50%.
How much is that?
Of the general fund, that's about $7 million. Our general fund is 10.6, I believe.
So you're going up to
That's
ask
an
for
easy
7
check
million.
to write.
I believe it
Sure.
probably is for the
I
state of
do.
Florida.
Should be, and they promised us that, but
Who
it didn't
promised?
happen in the special session. The legislature did.
Oh, I see.
And it didn't happen in the special
Did
session.
you get
which
that in
we're hoping.
writing?
It wasn't in writing. That's
I
the
see.
problem.
So one of the allies that we have is Adam Botana. I mean, he's been great to Fort
Yes.
Myers Beach, and he's
Yes.
been very helpful. And so I'm guessing he's going to be up there helping you guys try and.
He will be in Senator Pasadomo also.
Sure. Now, why wouldn't they make Fort Myers Beach whole? What would be the reasoning?
I don't know. Other than they say, well, we don't have the money. You know, we've talked to DEM, Department of Emergency Management, and they said they don't have the money to really fill in all the gaps that we're asking for, particularly things like general revenue, beach renourishment. So we've got to look at other sources of funding there. But from the legislature, general appropriation for that, there's no reason why. In my opinion, there's no reason why they can't do that. $20 billion.
Nice way to put that little
Yeah.
fine point on it.
Go ahead, get that number out
$20
there.
billion surplus last year in the state of Florida. They should be able to have the money. To
Oh,
make.
a $20 billion surplus. Not how
For the-
big is
for
the state of Florida
Florida.
budget?
I don't know.
I mean, with a surplus that high,
With a B or a T?
100 billion
yeah.
100
and you're only asking for 7 million. I mean, when you put the numbers
for that part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are asking for a lot more than that for other things.
I see.
You know, we'd like make sure beach renourishment's covered. We had 4 or 5 items like that we were asking for. I've
yeah.
got them over here.
Yeah,
If
I
can throw out
know.
a lifeline.
I know that you mentioned them in the presentation that you made. There were 4 items. So beach renourishment was one.
See my memory?
The other 3, I
Awakening.
wrote them down somewhere in my notes. So.
Here we go. The turtle lighting, all the street lights island wide, not just Estero, but all the side
Side
streets,
streets.
city
Mhm.
streets.
Okay, before you go on,
Okay.
let's talk about the lighting. Because your buddy Chris there, he got his he got a little angry with FPL because FPL came and made a presentation, and it seemed like they were putting the burden of all the money on the Fort Myers Beach residents, and they weren't willing to cover any of the costs. And he picked up on that during the meeting, and he let it known that he wasn't happy. So, have we been able to straighten FPL out?
They're going back and redoing their numbers. We'll see what they give us next week.
So, tell everybody what the cost of that project is.
The cost was total cost was $3 million or so. They were going to ask the town for 1.5 to 1.8 million. Plus, then we pay the energy cost. We paid the energy cost before, so that's nothing new, other than it's a different light, different wattage.
And
And
that
it's a
kind of thing.
different cost.
Different
And it's way
cost.
higher.
Way higher.
It is higher.
Yeah.
It is higher for the turtle lights. The amber lights are more expensive, but
And it's a monthly cost of like $200,000, right?
the monthly,
Or is it 20?
Yeah,
was
I
20
think
or-
20. It's
Okay,
20.
20. But it was
20 or
way-
30. It
compared to
wasn't-
what though? It was like
It was,
at least
yeah.
double.
5.
Oh yeah, it was so that's more than
Yeah.
so the FPL came in and now but we need some help, right? You need to pay for something here. I mean, it's a major
Exactly.
catastrophe.
Exactly.
There are no lights. It's dangerous and dark out there.
It's very dark.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Particularly even this district right
Especially
here.
Right.
when you start having people come down. I mean, when you start adding volume and density, and you have people, you can't have them stumbling around in the dark.
Right. And that's been one of my issues is as we open the beach back up, as we reduce the curfew, that we can manage the numbers of people that are coming in.
Yeah.
And because that invites more
Yeah, it's a
people in.
public
And if you don't
safety
have
issue.
lights, you
Right.
don't have garbage, you don't have porta potties at this point. How do you manage all those people?
Speaking of porta potties, did
I'm
you
not
see
gonna
that
bring it up.
picture?
what?
On the way down to the beach this morning, the duty calls truck was on its way down here.
Oh.
So I think they're
Isn't that a great
taking-
name?
It is. I took a picture of it. I was like, this is hilarious.
So-
but they were
so-
heading down here.
You were going down your list.
Oh,
The
It's
lighting.
okay.
okay for you to go off on a segue.
No,
and
it's
by
fine.
the way, you look like
It's like the air conditioning is on over here. It's all just blowing in the back of my neck. I'm freezing, and I don't want to seem like a sissy, but
well, you did.
Tough as nails. All right. Turtle lighting was one. Island wide, which is something new. It was just Estero, and now we're looking at all the city roads and town roads on the inland side. The beach renourishment, just in case we can't get funding for that for the areas that we are going to renourish. I know that's a controversial issue. We were just talking about that earlier, but for the areas that we can't or that we can renourish and that want renourishment, the cost there, it's stacking a lot of different funding sources, and one of those could fall out real easily. So we're looking for total funding for the renourishment, which is about $10 million.
Okay.
Economic loss, the 8.1 is what we're really asking for, which is our lost revenues. Other kind of options that we've been looking at. Oh, well, rebuilding town hall. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. There was a company that made a presentation for a new town hall on Thursday at the M&P meeting.
Ajax, yeah.
And it was $32 million. Like, it was a twice the size of what they had before. And it was like government light just went out the window and it just became government on steroids. It was like, wow, do you really need a facility that big?
Well, one, this is all kind of quick, high level brush. But what they did is they came in and they did a very quick survey of numbers of employees we have right now, the functions, that sort of thing. The facility that we were in, how did it serve us? And
Thank you.
And then they just plug numbers right off, that are kind of engineering standard, I guess. And that's how they got to the 32,000 plus growth 30 years out. So, because the building will have a 30 to 50 year life.
And it'll have to be elevated.
So they want to look at that. It's got to be elevated. Yeah. So those types of things, and they came back at 37,000 square feet. And we said, well, let's see, conference rooms, things like that, you can start cutting right away. So we did a quick cut down, got it down to 32. They'd estimated $1,000 per square foot for construction initially, which gets you to the 32 million.
Wow.
We have about 16 million that we can expect through insurance and FEMA. So we're still looking at another 16 million.
So do the taxpayers have to pay?
Well, we're asking the legislature for that, or for whatever that we end up with. It probably won't be 32,000 square feet. Maybe it's something that is built to where we can add on. It was 16,000
square feet.
Yeah.
So that would double it.
So they're talking about doubling it to use for the next 30 to 50 years, but perhaps it could be built to where if there's that growth, then add on.
Yeah.
Incur the costs in. So
like a mother-in-law suite. Just build it regular or what you had, and then add on a mother-in-law suite, a town hall-in-law suite.
Where's the mother-in-law suite coming from?
No,
I mean, is that some kind of hint or
that's
something?
the town manager's office.
Wow.
I mean, if you can get it all at once, sure. But that's a lot to
right.
That's a lot to
Exactly.
In your opinion, with your many years of experience, does this 7 Mile Island need a $32 million town hall?
It depends on what the island wants. Right now, the island seems to really pride itself on government light, and with government light, I would say no.
Okay.
I mean, we certainly have some resources that we need to add, but still, we want to keep that in mind that this is government light.
Well, and like you said, if you're looking at 30 years down the road, I mean, you don't want to cut yourself too short, but you also don't want to.
Right. Well, we've got the land to expand, so it's just a matter of whatever we do build, having the ability to add on. If
FEMA will pay for whatever was destroyed.
Correct.
And then you might get some more money from the legislature for that, and then the rest will be up to the taxpayers.
Yeah, and our goal is for none of it to fall on the taxpayers.
Or to cut the budget.
The island's taxpayers anyway.
Does the town right now have enough? Well, I know I want to talk about the permitting, but in your opinion, does the town, if it was back to normal, does it have enough employees if everything was normal right now?
Such as prior to Ian?
Yes.
Close.
Okay.
Close. I would still think we need a finance director. We don't want all of those duties to fall into one spot, because then when you do have a disaster like Ian, you're caught way short. Your knees, you're cut off at your knees.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. We had like 1 or 2 planners and a couple of inspectors, because we only had 12 new houses built on the island the year before the storm. Single family residences, 12. So that's pretty easy to manage. But now all of a sudden we've got 4,000 permits in the last 3 months, and we just didn't have that staff. So it depends on how ready you want to be and how prepared for unforeseen issues.
So
how does a community, how does a municipality plan for Armageddon? I mean, how do you plan for something?
There's not a plan for a 4.9 hurricane. There's just not a plan for that. But if you want to plan for a Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 type storm, or maybe a tidal wave like we were talking about earlier, you can have those disaster plans in place. How are you going to leverage other resources? Like police and fire, they have cooperative agreements, mutual aid agreements with other jurisdictions. So,
which we saw. I mean, you would come down here in the early days and you would see Davey
power companies.
and this one. Yeah. And the power companies from all over. I mean, outside of Florida even, but
So that's how you leverage your resources initially.
One of the things that I find odd is that people are starting to come back to the beach. I mean, we see it every weekend, probably not so much this weekend because it's a little chilly and the cold weather scares people away from the beach for whatever reason. But like on last weekend or the weekend before New Year's Day, people were just flocking down. They just want to come to the beach. And I know it costs a lot of money for porta potties and garbage cans, but it seems like such a simple thing for some government agencies to say, okay, we need to have enough porta potties for people that are coming. It just, I know you're going to.
No. Maybe
I know
they
you
need
think
to
I'm
do
making
it
a big deal out of this.
Maybe they need to do it like they do with the electrical companies or they need to collaborate. So we have porta potty companies from Fort Lauderdale.
We were talking to a guy on the
and-
show last night who said the United States can build a bridge in a foreign country in 24 hours, and we can't figure out how to get enough bathrooms. I'm not saying it's the town's fault. I know it's $46,000 for one crapper or something like that, but it just seems like so easy. To me, it seems like, why are you making it so hard?
I think they can get it. It's paying for it. You need crapper fund.
The Florida surplus is $20 billion. I mean, Lee County has a park right next to where everybody's flocking. It was like pulling teeth to get 2 porta johns there. But do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me.
Absolutely. I agree completely. And we were enlightened yesterday, and this is an issue that we talked with Councilman Woodson about, was the disproportionate allocation of porta potties. You've got these clusters of them, 10, 20 down the road, and 2 here. We found out yesterday that those were state porta potties.
Oh, that wasn't what somebody originally said at the council meeting.
They said they were private.
Said it was a private
we
company.
thought they were private. We thought they were private too, but the state guy yesterday told us those are our porta potties, and they're removing them, those clusters.
Oh, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Governor DeSantis.
Right. So what we asked was...
Which ones? The ones at Sea Grape or the ones at Santini?
I think both. They have 52. 52 porta potties were state porta potties that were here for the initial recovery and response. We found this out yesterday. So it's all right, well, take 47 of them away and leave us 5, please.
We'll clean them. We'll clean them.
Right.
But people will go out there and clean them. I mean, just so they have somewhere
So
to...
that's on record that Ed is going to clean the porta potties.
But how does something like that?
Kim.
I mean, seriously, how does something like that happen? There's state people all over the place. The state people are going out giving people violations for knocking their house down that aren't even employed by the town. How does that happen? That we can't. I mean, everybody praises Kevin Guthrie. How do we don't know that they're his porta potties?
It's bureaucracy
for sure,
and people changing in and out of positions and issues rising and falling with whoever has the memory, which I obviously don't, but whoever has the memory of what an issue was. So that was the case here. Was 1, bureaucracy. 2, we had both state guys in the room at the same time, and they were like, "Oh yeah, those are state porta potties," and one didn't know it and one did.
Okay, before I forget this.
Oh boy.
Before I forget this, we have
That's a bad deal.
Fort Myers Beach has a lobbyist.
Correct.
Ron Book, who I think you pay $5,000 or something. It's not a ton of money.
Something like that, 5 or 6 a month.
So he got up and made a.
Wait, what? A month?
5 or 6,000 a month.
I don't think it's a month, is it? Yeah. So anyway, he got up and made a presentation Thursday at the M&P meeting. I don't even know if I should use the word presentation. Like, he must know stuff about Tallahassee that nobody else knows, but our numbers from that town council meeting went like almost to 0 because nobody can understand what he was saying. What the hell was he talking about? What does he do for the town? Like, does he really bring the town money? Because what he said the other day was it didn't make any sense to anybody.
He didn't present what we wanted him to present or what I thought he was going to present. I thought he was going to talk about our list, educate council on the process. That didn't happen, but he has a very good reputation in Tallahassee as a rainmaker. So we'll see this session.
Well, it needs to pour down here.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I did, speaking of bureaucracy, I went by the post office today and they were building steps, and there's contractors out there looking like they're going to put something together. And then Jim, Councilman Adderholt, sent me a text. He said that he asked the contractors out there if they had everything they needed from the town and FPL, and if they'd be ready to open this coming week. He replied, "Yes, sir. We're looking good. We're set to install new power pole on Tuesday. FPL is set the new line and hook up the next day." And just a lot of small things. So it looks like we might finally have some postal service on the island next week or sometime soon. Can you believe that bureaucracy? I mean, the Joy needs to resign. I mean, that guy is totally useless.
Councilman Adderholt had connections, fortunately, because he went to the top
to Rick
get
Scott.
it done. And that's what it takes. Unfortunately, that's what it takes.
So when you see Amazon and UPS and who's the other one, FedEx, all delivering again, the government can't deliver the mail.
Maybe we need somebody at the top to go talk to the state about the porta potty thing and get those porta potties back
Rick
down
Scott
here.
will come talk about porta potties.
Maybe.
So any word from 7-Eleven or CVS? They were mentioned at the council meeting last week.
I've not had those conversations, but I know there are conversations ongoing with CVS. The state is having those conversations as well as we are. I'm not sure about 7-Eleven. I've not had those, but I know I saw they were making some progress in cleaning up one of their sites.
Yeah, I went by Publix today, and I kind of snuck behind the fence, and it looked like the building was in good shape, but it didn't look like there was a ton of product in there. I mean, the minute one of those stores opens, it's going to be like crazy because people – they have to go to Walmart and they can't. I mean, just one store. Is this unusual in your experience that it's taken this long for a business? Like if a Wawa was in one of those 7-Elevens, it would have been open for 2 months. Or a racetrack.
Gas station. You really need gas.
Yeah. Well, gas is highly regulated because of petroleum and all that kind of stuff. But it does seem like if somebody was really entrepreneurial, one of those companies, they could have stood something up, even if it's a temporary type structure. And that hasn't happened. I'm glad Publix has been making the progress they've been making.
Well, not only entrepreneurial, but you have to have a heart for the people that are down here without a basic thing like, gas to even go off the island and get the other things that aren't available.
Where does the town vehicle, where do they go to get gas?
Going
to Walmart.
The mainland to get gas, yeah.
So is the town ready for the influx of people like we saw on January 1st and stuff like that? In your opinion, is it ready?
It's a good problem to have. I think that people need to come to the island with the realization that it's not what it once was. Mm-hmm. There's not porta potties. There's not as good garbage service. Parking. We do have 100 spaces back online now out of our 200 and something that we had, but those, it's not as it was. So we want people to, one, respect our laws, respect our property, and respect private property. Don't go in the bushes.
Yeah.
But it's not the same, and we want them to understand it's not the same. And if they want the same experience, they're not going to get it unless they're on the beach looking at the Gulf.
Right. I think a lot of people just want to do that. They want to sit in the sand and they, maybe they'll glance over their shoulder knowing that, it's not the same as it was, but they're in their happy place. And there's so many people that just want to sit in that sand and be in their happy place, which is Fort Myers Beach. Let's talk about Times Square for a second. There's so many different owners in Times Square. Do we know for sure that it needs to be elevated?
Yeah, everything's going to have to be elevated.
Okay, because on the other side, you got
that front,
you got Bella Mozzarella and the others on the other side that are working like they can open.
If they weren't over the 50%, yes, they can open back up. Anything new, I guess I should say, anything new that was there that's not now would have to be elevated.
Okay. So is there, and I know, you never know.
How do you think how does that look? How does that happen where the beach side of Times Square is here and the street side? I mean, that's going to be quite an angle. Yay?
Yeah.
Yes?
I think the reuse is going to have to be rethought of what is there. It's going to take a really good architect to design something. If they want retail up there and you've already got retail down here, it's going to have to be considered. Now you've got places like that. There's Cocoa Walk in Miami and Coconut Grove. It's got that whole elevated section there. But
I've never been there. What's that like?
Well, they have retail downstairs and upstairs, but upstairs doesn't seem to suffer. But there's restaurants and that sort of thing too. Restaurants upstairs, which is a draw to get people up there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, it's going to be a different 17 feet.
Yeah.
So are people going to want to go up there? How do you get them up there? What's the visual effect of it, the aesthetics? Yeah.
My biggest worry about Times Square is that it's going to take a long time because you have so many different owners. They don't know what they want. They're going to have to put stairs at each location. Who plans it? Who's the architect? How do you come to agreement on all this? Or does somebody just try and offer a crazy amount of money to buy it all up and rebuild it? I mean, what have you heard? What can you tell us about what's going on there?
I haven't heard much yet, particularly in lines of coordination. I haven't heard that it's there yet.
Okay. Dear?
No, I'm just trying to stay warm here.
I mean, even with the town and the county, because the restrooms used to be close by.
Yeah, what about the
park.
pier? Any news on the pier?
The county has said that they want to rebuild it. They want it to be iconic as it was. So, they're saying the right words.
They don't have a timetable of when they're going to start.
But we need something to happen.
And those bathrooms, the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms, totally destroyed.
I know, and they
just redid them, which is
were
crazy.
Great.
Yeah.
There's so many good projects in the works and just done.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah. So let's talk about Bay Oaks. I went by Bay Oaks today just because, it's crazy. What?
Somebody in the audience just went, "Oh boy!"
And
go ahead.
I went by. I made the turn somewhere because I went by and I saw a debris pile. I'm like, "What the hell is that debris pile?" And I made the right-hand turn, and Bay Oaks is totally destroyed.
Right.
Probably was before the storm, but the debris pile it's gigantic. Like, when are they going to remove it? And I know they were talking about opening the pool. You can't have kids by that debris pile. In the pool?
We haven't finished assessing the damage to the pool.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there's stuff in it that's got to come out before we can really assess it. So it's going to be a while on the pool. It won't be this season.
Okay.
With regards to the debris pile, it's actually smaller than it was. I walked it this week, and it is smaller than it used to be. But
is there like a stick to put in the middle that's measuring the height, or how did you?
There, it was. I'm telling you what, that debris pile was huge. It was like Lover's Key pile. I mean, it was gigantic.
That's incredible.
How long will it take them to get that crap out of there?
January, March, into March, I believe, was the date that they told us they'll have it cleared away. And when that happens, then we'll have FEMA funding, if we front the money, to come in and start redeveloping the park again.
Okay, so FEMA will participate.
They'll clean it up, clean the soil. They'll actually remediate the soil if it needs remediation from glass or any kind of contaminants. Even
when you say FEMA's going to do it, do they pay for it right then because they're doing it, or you're saying they contract with other people, then the town pays, and then you get reimbursed?
They will pay for that immediately. Okay. Yeah. Now they'll have contractors do it, but you don't have to pay for that and then get reimbursed. Right. Okay. That's not on our.
Okay.
Somebody was asking real quick, and I know it's kind of off. It's about the permits, the price. The cost for permit
15th. It goes back into effect tomorrow. Right.
Okay, but is that going to take okay? Tuesday. That was the question. It is Tuesday, not Monday.
All right.
Yeah, we're closed Monday. So.
Oh, it's a holiday. That's right. Yeah. So Jane said, ask if the deadline for permits without these is on. Oh, sorry, that was the same one. So the biggest concern is permitting, and people say this and that about the permitting. Give us your honest opinion on how permitting's going.
My honest opinion is we're doing a good job. Not perfect. There's room for improvement. But my honest opinion is under the situation that we have right now, like I said, we had 1 or 2 planners is all. So now we have planners that the state has provided us, and we have people we've transferred from other departments to help process permits. Well, these are new people. Some of them don't have that kind of experience. So there are glitches. Definitely there are. What I noticed this week was we started getting more positive emails than we have in the past. They still don't outnumber the complaints, but we're getting more positive.
It's leveling up.
Right. My goal would be no complaints and all positive, but that won't ever happen.
No.
But I think we're doing a good job given the pressures on the system, but we've taken a lot of steps to improve. We've expanded our hours. Weekday hours plus now on Saturdays. So they're there right now. We have walk-ins. We've established, I'm putting a kiosk there because some builders have said, hey, I get turned around, my permit's denied because of something. I've got to go back to my office and resubmit it. where the computer is. So we're going to put a computer kiosk there for a builder to do right there.
So they could do it right there. Mm-hmm.
We're now assigning a person to basically hold hands and walk people through the process. We have a little QR code now on our site that goes to sort of troubleshooting and how-tos to instruct on how to do XYZ. So taking a lot of actions to try to improve the system.
What's the biggest concern or complaint you get from residents when it comes to permitting? Is there?
I think the biggest complaint I get is when something's wrong with the permit, it gets rejected and the whole thing goes away, and then you got to come back and resubmit again. I hear a lot of that, of why not just kind of let me fix that one little thing.
Right.
And I've inquired about that. And what I get is that when that happens, maybe a husband submitted the first one, and then it comes from a wife's email for the next one. And so you get, or the builder, and you get different sources, and the version control gets out of control. So they want the whole thing to go back and the whole thing to get resubmitted again. Now, I don't know if that's the best way or the only way, but that's the way it's happening right now.
Gotcha. So some folks that were here earlier wrote down some questions that they wanted me to ask. And I don't know if you know the answers to some of it. Looks like the trailer stuff. We had a lot of fun with the trailers for a long time now, but it seems like it kind of got straightened out.
And I sent you the thing that FEMA's now reconsidering putting them in
Thank
the
you, FEMA.
floodways.
110 days later. Like,
right.
Another thing with government is you see a gigantic disaster and they fumble over themselves trying to figure out how to deal with them. And they have one job. It's to deal with disasters in the United States of America. And the whole thing just baffles me sometimes with what this country can do and then what it can't do because of bureaucracy.
Right. Bureaucracy and attention. If there had been
and money. I mean,
money.
I don't think the emergency management services, even at the federal level, are funded like the Department of Defense.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is when you know a disaster is coming, FPL is like they surround it. They're just outside the zone where it's going to be crazy, and then they bombard the area to fix the power as quickly as they can. Amazon figures it out, and UPS figures it out, and FedEx figures it out. You have the two giant bureaucracies that can't figure it out. And I know I sound like a broken record, but when it happens in your community, it's effing annoying. It's just like, the FEMA guys were on the show last week, and my eyes glaze over, because they make it sound great. But the whole thing with measuring for trailers, and then the next guy says, "Oh no, you're in a flood zone." Well, no shit, I'm in a flood zone. The whole island's in a flood zone. How come you didn't know that? You don't have to answer that.
Well, have the same questions of don't they know? But what happens is you get somebody from Oregon, or because they ramp up and they ramp down depending on disasters and resource needs. And you get people that are just totally unfamiliar. And it baffles me that people don't have the knowledge that they have. I mean, if I got sent to New Mexico
for a wildfire,
I don't know anything about wildfires.
But wouldn't you look to the locals to say, okay?
But they don't.
But
my observation is they don't.
I mean, yeah, you want to be communicating with the people in your area who know the most about that. But anyway, so the question is, we live
back to the question.
Sorry, yeah, I don't mean to ramble like that. We live in a condo that doesn't allow trailers. We've applied with United Florida, and if we qualify for temporary housing, will the town allow it on Fort Myers Beach, and can we get the condo to allow? Thought I heard the town was allowing it.
Trailers?
Yes,
we are.
Right. Yeah. The town was the first to encourage people to get trailers.
Right.
And even the previous council said, we want you to get trailers, and we want you we're going to help you get power. We're going to help you get water, because we want you to be on the property.
We want people to come home.
Yeah.
We want people to come home. Yes.
So, okay. So that's that question. And then there was one that was.
Well, I think the other question in there, there's really not much anything the town can do if the condo people don't allow it, correct?
Right. On private property, if it's an HOA issue, then no, we don't.
Another thing that came up during the town council meeting last week was the food truck thing. Like Tom at Laola's been working his behind off to get set up out there, and then a food truck just shows up that nobody knows where it came from or anything like that. And Tom's got two porta potties because the town set rules for it. If you're going to set up a food truck, you have to have a porta potty. And so what are the rules like that? Is people are just going to be willy-nilly pulling food trucks in because more people come to Times Square?
I don't know all the rules there, so I probably shouldn't say much. I know that he has been great with what he did, and we wish more would stand up that way. But with regards to private properties and them leasing to a food truck, I'm not sure what all the rules are there. Something about if you had a restaurant before, you know, food truck, okay. If you didn't have a restaurant before, I'm not sure. I better stay away from that.
Okay. So my question, here's another question.
But
My
I do
question,
eat at food trucks. I support them.
my question to the town manager is about creating an ordinance with a maximum square footage. The single family, 6,000 square foot under AC. You can have additional square footage with porches. Doubles can have 8,000 square feet. That would eliminate the massive house look of Bonita.
Council is considering conducting a master plan. They're going to be receiving presentations from planners here in the next month, next few weeks of what does a master plan mean and how do we develop. I know there's a lot of concern about retaining the aesthetic of the island prior to the storm and redeveloping back to that. There's a lot of big money coming in that may have different visions of what they want to do with the island. So the council is going to look at some kind of master planning, consider that, which also then considers our ordinances, because a lot of these things would require a change in ordinance and perhaps even a change in our comprehensive plan, which is a longer process. So I term it as kind of a race between us getting our standards in place of what we want to see versus the investment that's going to occur under our existing codes. So,
now, when you talk about planners coming in, so it's outside planners? Because this is, I mean, not completely unique, but this is a big project and kind of clean slate-ish. Correct.
I mean, you have the opportunity to kind of remaster plan, reconceptualize the entire island. 1999, there was the master plan for Old San Carlos here. So that's a result of what it can do. Punta Gorda just went through a big master planning process that covered, I think, the entire town. So depends on scale's not set yet. We don't know. We don't know if we'll do it. If we do, we don't know to what extent we'll do it. But it's a great opportunity.
Are there different planners that you're talking to? Like, is it like
These
do
would be
companies
firms.
vie for?
Yeah, it would be a selection.
And folks should watch the LPA because the LPA will have a lot to say with setbacks and things like
absolutely.
that. This coming week is going to be a big one on Wednesday at 9:00, and that meeting is going to be held at Diamond Head.
Yeah.
LPA is going to be making a lot of recommendations to this new council about rebuilding.
To your point about, you know, as they do another master plan or they relook at that and then getting the ordinances up to place. If somebody comes in and buys something and gets their permit and stuff in, that's under the existing rules,
As long as
right?
it's compliant with the existing law.
And then how do you mold or meld those? You know where I'm going?
Yeah, a lot of it is begging and pleading.
Okay.
You know, we have the island and public hearings. A lot of this will require public hearings too. And so when they hear what the public wants, we hope when people come and redevelop, and what I hear is when some of the people that have been talking about it, they are community minded, which is good.
Right.
You know, Margaritaville has been pretty community minded as I understand it. And that's been great.
Hello, Miss Jane Plummer.
Hi, how are
Welcome. I will say that we did answer one of your questions, which was Tuesday.
Tuesday. So it is definitely Tuesday, because I was in the town hall yesterday and the people at the information said Monday, that's it. No
Well,
changes.
see, Monday's a holiday.
I know.
So
Keep it
we're not
close to you.
open. We're not open Monday. Tuesday. Now, I did talk with our community development director, and there may be some latitude for Tuesday. You know, if you're in works and that kind of thing, go ahead and get you through.
Well, the key thing there is if Monday is a holiday and nobody's there to look at them and they get bounced back, like you just said, you know, they decide to bounce it back, then you have no response time and you're out. The other thing is, they said when I was there yesterday that they were going to be open on Saturday until noon. There's people all over the place there, but the gates are all locked up and it's closed.
Today?
Today.
I've talked to people there today.
I know, but the gates are closed.
Different gate.
It
Front
says
side.
visitors gate and
Yeah.
points to the closed
That's
gate.
the old back parking lot. Those signs are effective yesterday when they rearranged the compound. That's our error, because the gate is now in the right of Estero, closer
I
to
called
Estero.
and no one answered.
It could have been
And it says no Saturday
could have been
hours.
busy, but I've exchanged emails with people there today and talked to people there today. So It should be open.
Well, another person came in here and asked me,
I'll
why
leave here
isn't
and
it
go check.
open?
I'll leave here and go check because they're
Well,
supposed to be
but
open
now
today.
it's closed at noon. So, right?
No, the hours were till 5:30 this afternoon.
Interesting. I'll go
7:30
back
to
there.
5:30
So
is
you're
what we
saying
said
go
we
in
would
through the
do.
fire
Right,
station
up
location?
by where the fire, yes.
Well, I'll go
That's
right there.
public parking, supposedly effective today, I guess.
If anyone's out there and you're
Tell
at
us.
the thing, send us video and we will put it on to see what's going on.
Yeah, that's the key
Yeah.
because
So
it's all
just to
closed.
like put a fine point on that, where should people enter, regardless of what the sign says? Where should they come in?
The entrance, as I understand it now, is on the front side, like where the old fire station was. And public parking should be up there. I know the signs do say that in the back. You're right. And they were still there yesterday afternoon, last night when I left. They should come down.
Well, so what you're saying is the old Tops parking lot is the to home.
The old
That-
top.
that's what people will know who
Yeah,
live
that's what
here.
that's the landmark people will go by. Yep.
And that would be helpful. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that you put that live, that it's Tuesday, and because I've asked 3 different people and gotten 3 different answers, and I'll go back there and see if they're still open.
I'll go right after this myself.
Okay.
I might
I
eat
feel like
first.
you two are going to be like in a foot race down to town hall.
I
Yeah,
will
if-
definitely see you there.
One thing, if something is wrong, if there's mistakes made, I want to hear about it. Bad news doesn't get better with time. So I'm happy to hear
I love
whatever
that
you or anyone
attitude.
else has to say.
We need more of you that are looking. The problem is that, like in our 404-page LPA package, it's all about businesses and doing this, that, and the other. It's not how can we help the people who are trying to figure out if they can stay.
Mhm.
And something needs to be simpler. I mean, I'm pretty good at going around the website of the town, but to go to the town's website and then go to doing business as, and then open, and then have to find public services, and that's where you look for a permit. Somehow there should be an easy banner, permits, and then everything there, not having to go through every little stage to go where it says, this is needed, this is needed. And then I spent till midnight last night getting my permits ready, and I still have a form I missed. And I mean, I was looking, but it's not marked on that page where you find that. And that's the notice of commencement. You can't find that on those permit things. Permits should be easy. Here's what you need. Fill them all out, get them notarized, bring them in, or send them in, however you send them in. But it's not easy. Most people would not look under building services for a permit.
They would expect, you think, like a permit button.
Permit. I
Like,
mean,
on the
that's
front
what
page of
everybody
the-
is
of the
doing
town.
right now.
Front
This
page
is a
of the
very
town.
important thing. And if we can't find it and not know what we need,
Mhm.
how can we turn it in properly? And
Okay.
that's why I was coming down, just to say, do I have it all? Because I don't want to get bounced back because I couldn't find the piece of paper
And then it runs out Tuesday.
that
Okay.
you wanted me to have.
Great point. I'll find out. You'll probably find out at the same time I do.
Well, I'm
I
also
want to
it's
see
a
who
race.
calls us
It's a
first.
race.
I was right. You were right. We were right.
well, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't fixed everything yet. You've been here a whole
I'm
month.
disappointed in myself. And it's a week and a half.
I think that what you're seeing, and you don't have to answer this either, is what you're seeing is a holdover from what's been built up for years and years. I mean, if you do go on obviously the town's website isn't user friendly. You have to learn how to use the website. But you know, there are bigger fish to fry right now too than fixing the website.
Well,
There's so
and
many
that's it.
things
Like
to
Chris
do.
always says, it's alligator closest to the boat, and
Right.
but
But
that's
I
huge
think-
though.
But that
It's-
right, like she made a great point that right now permits are the big thing. So maybe finding a way to, you know, get that more easily accessible to people and understandable. And I know that there's videos out there. I've heard that there's videos on how to do this, and I think the information is out there. It's not like I don't think the town has put the information out, but it's a lot for people. And so what may be easy for you to understand as somebody who does it, a lay person, the average, you know, homeowner, it's overwhelming on top of all the other things that they
You
have
know,
going on.
Yeah, because they're
Absolutely.
dealing with insurance and adjusters and builders and scammers and the whole thing.
Right,
And then
right.
You know, so it's something they've never done.
I understand.
Before.
I have some innate inability to Google, and my wife has to Google for me. So I can imagine what people go through because I have those same difficulties.
So Keith, you in all your experience and stuff that you've dealt with in the state of Florida, have you ever seen anything like this?
I've done hurricanes, done category 3s, never done a 4, 4.9 like Ian was. But the issues, the frustration, the anxiety of my life has changed. I want to get it back to normal. Yes, I see that all the time. And actually, even with Katrina, my cousin and I had a discussion. My cousin was the director of mental health for the state of Mississippi. And he was mobilizing during the oil spill and during Katrina mental health stations down on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, and said, we need the same thing, particularly like during the oil spill, people committing suicide because they thought their lives had changed forever, fishermen. And it was just catastrophic from that standpoint. So the anxiety, the getting back to normal again, will my life ever be normal again? Cutting and running, all of that. Yes, I've seen that.
I tell people this all the time because I do these videos on Saturday morning that people across the country love to watch. You know, you could tell in some areas the people were just sitting like 2 days before the storm. They were sitting in their house on the first level or the second level, and they were just enjoying their life. And then this storm comes through, and the next day the sun's out. But the furniture, you can see the furniture in their house is just the way they were before they left, and it's like their lives will never be the same, or sure shit will take a long time for their lives to be the same. Because even today, by the post office, you drive around the post office and you see a house where the furniture it's just, you could see everything inside their house.
Right.
It's like you can't do it justice by the pictures. It's it's incredible the change in somebody's life. I can't imagine the mental anguish in somebody's life when everything is turned upside down.
Come back, and it's just that's the image that always gets me, that I remember, is driving down and seeing stairs that go to no building. Like the stairs survive. And there's nothing, maybe a slab, but there's nothing. It's a stairway to nowhere, you know. And to say, I mean, I'm looking at it, but if I'm looking at that and that's my house, I mean, I'm gonna rub my this cannot. How do you process that?
And you said your cousin, like, how did those people process that?
They and for the first time, the state of Florida did the same thing here. They had a mental health station set up there at our town compound for citizens and for workers, us, whoever needs assistance. And I didn't go. I don't know, how it worked or how successful it was. But my cousin, Matt, he felt like that was absolutely the thing to do. And there was a real need there. And I imagine it did help a lot of people. Now, I personally have lost a house in a hurricane.
No way.
It was my second residence, but we lost a house, and it was at the, that whole 50% kind of question too. But we lost a house. I haven't been through it for my personal residence, but I've certainly been through it.
And then you're dealing with what a lot of people have dealt with. If their second, I'm so cold, like I can't even get the words out. I'm shivering.
If it's their second home.
And it's not that cold out in the sun. If it's their second home, it's so much different for them because you can't get as much help if it's your second home. So how did it work out for you?
I sold a rubble.
Okay. And that's happening. That's happening here.
Yep. Yeah. I sold a rubble, and I bought a vacant lot down the street that the house has just been totally wiped away, and I bought a vacant lot and I rebuilt that, and that's where I live now.
What keeps you up, like thinking about Fort Myers Beach? You're going to be here for a while, and what is your biggest worry?
That's a great question, because every night every night I wake up about 3:30 and can't go back to sleep. What keeps me up is the finances, checking all the boxes, making sure I've responded to people, and mostly it's staff, but I have a personal commitment to return every email by, within 24 hours, every phone call within 24 hours.
Wow.
So I do a lot of that in the mornings. In the evenings, I'm usually wiped. But the financing of it all, making sure we're touching all those bases is what really keeps me up every night.
Do you believe the state will come through?
50-50.
Okay.
No kidding. Well, I mean, if the state doesn't come through, what happens? Does the county have to take over?
We certainly would hope to get assistance from the county. We would have to look at loans, look at slowing the pace of recovery for what we're going to do. We've got storm sewers, sidewalks, all kinds of things to rebuild. Lift stations, still don't have water everywhere, and it have to slow the pace.
I have to be honest with you, the 50-50 is not encouraging.
Our legislature is a coin toss.
Is that right?
It's a coin toss. I think it is. The key in our strategy is fortunately, Senator Pasadomo is from this area.
Right.
So we would expect her to be an advocate. She's president of the Senate. Senator Broxson, who we know have a good relationship with, is the appropriations chair. So those are two very key positions that our strategy hinges on them. And then the representative that you spoke of earlier, Adam
Botana.
Yeah, Adam Botana. He's been a great advocate too. So we go to those, we go to other associations, the League of Cities, Association of Counties, and we unify our front. So that Lee County's asking for the same things, Bonita Springs is asking the same things, Sanibel's asking the same things. So it's a unified front.
Do you think it helps for people to write to those folks that you mentioned and just say, hey, we're here. This is what we want. I mean, I remember when LOSUM was going through and Captains for Clean Water and many other agencies got together and they went up to Tallahassee. Not that folks could do that, but maybe they could. And they went up in a large contingent and did an email blast. And it was the first time I saw that make a difference, that it really moved the needle on what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I just wonder if there's someone out there who's got great writing skills, because what they did is they crafted a letter that people could just add their name to.
Do you think that would make a difference?
I think it made a difference before. I think it's always possible.
I think it does. I think the first step is leadership, because everybody else will follow leadership, and we've got good placement with leadership. So I'm encouraged with that. Maybe it's better than 50-50, but when stuff gets to Tallahassee,
anything can
happen. You just don't know.
And here's the thing. I mean, it happened here this time, but the majority, I don't know what the percentage is of Florida's population, lives on a coast somewhere.
Right. Yep.
It's going to happen, just like now we will support other communities where this happens, and folks from Mexico Beach, Mexico City came down. Mexico Beach came down, because they've been through it. So they came down with that knowing kind of, we're so sorry, we know what you're going through look. And so it would behoove everyone to get on that.
Is there precedent of this before? Like, has this happened in as grand a scale as this, and the legislature has come through?
Yes. Yeah, Mexico Beach. They really came through with them, and FEMA did too. And in Louisiana, the parishes last summer got hit really hard and repetitively, and FEMA really came through with them. So it takes the pressure, it takes it consistent, it takes a unified front, it takes leadership, cover all those bases. Yes.
Okay. So you guys are going up next week to start the whole process.
Chris and the mayor are going up next week to start the process.
It's so funny because Chris was
supposed to be. We're getting a Greyhound bus and we're going.
Chris was supposed to be temporary until you came on board, and then he was supposed to go back, right? And I don't think he's left yet.
One, he's gone. He's back home. But one, he loves it. He loves this stuff. He can't do without it. And two, his strengths really are, in addition to management here, Tallahassee.
Okay.
So he'll be working. I guarantee you that.
It seems like it's going to be a two-man show right to the end there. And speaking of the end, what are you guys going to be looking for? I mean, the town manager that comes on board, it has to be a home run. I mean, that cannot be a failure for this community. It really has to be the right person, and it has to be somebody that has the experience of something like this. I mean, where do you find somebody?
Well, I think the skills to manage are an obvious. I think one point that council has really made clear to us is the culture that they want to change. They want the culture to be set in a more customer-friendly, council-friendly, everybody-friendly manner, be able to work cooperatively with the county, with the fire district. So it's that culture, I think, is key. And so that we wrote that into our solicitation. We want somebody that plays well in the sandbox with everybody. And what we've done is we've advertised nationally through the League of Cities, through the ICMA, which is the International County City Managers Association, Florida League of Cities, Florida Association of Counties. We've spread it. Indeed.
One of the things, Indeed.
Indeed.com.
One of the things I think Chris said, it might have been you, I apologize if I'm not getting it right, is that there's going to be a fight with the League of Cities over insurance. What's going on with that? I mean, why are we fighting with the League of Cities? Did they not come through and do what they said they were gonna?
It all gets back to insurance. So we're gonna have to bring on an adjuster to, just like everybody probably should in this case.
Yeah.
We are too.
We've had a couple on the show if you guys are interested.
I never even knew one existed
They work-
until
Yeah.
this storm. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
who
They
knew?
work miracles. They
Yeah.
work miracles.
So
But we'll be doing that too at League of Cities because one, just slow. I mean, the pace is slow. They haven't even been here yet to look at Town Hall yet. So
Oof.
I mean, that thing's a wreck. I mean,
Right,
that needs to come.
right.
That's almost
yeah,
like
we
a
were complaining about
unsafe.
7-Eleven. I was like, well, we need to
True.
get the rocks and glass houses.
So the other, I want to come back to a question I asked, and I maybe I didn't ask it the right
Dear,
way.
he also has to get down to town hall to see what's going on.
It's a
Is
race.
James-
Where is she?
well,
Where is
Jane's
she?
already down there. Forget it. She got on her motorcycle and shot down there. So no, the thing that I wanted to ask was, or clarify was, let's say the state doesn't come through, and I hope this doesn't happen, but it could. I mean, and the town goes bankrupt. Does the county then take over the town and now, you know, and usurps the town, and now that's part of the county again?
That can happen. Probably won't. I mean, we had a bankrupt town up in my county in Escambia,
Okay.
and there was talk about that, but the state came in and basically just assisted them to bolster them back up again.
Okay.
And that was dire. That had gone on for decades and decades with this town. So with Fort Myers Beach, I don't see that happening.
Okay. Because I'm sure there are some people at the county level that wouldn't hate that.
I've heard, but I don't know. I'm new.
All right. You can
Rumors, you know.
you can use that all the way to the end, right? Oh, I was only here 5 months.
I'm
so-
interim.
Is there anything else you can share with the residents or want to say to the
anything we
residents?
missed
and
that
thank
you
you
wanna
so
get
much
out?
for being
Yeah.
here the whole time.
I would just ask people to be patient. We really are working. Our staff is working hard. We had staff that lost their houses too
Right.
and are displaced. So we're basically all in the same boat together. And I know it's hard, but I really ask for patience and give us constructive criticism because we're not going to be perfect. We have changes we need to make the system better. So help us, work with us rather than against us.
And I just
And
want
on that frosty blast.
Wow.
I know.
I just want to say thank you to you and to Chris and to Dan and to Karen and everybody on the council. The communication level between our show and the town has been great. And people, as we found out in the first few days after the storm, they just want information.
Right.
It may not all be great information. They might not be happy with it, but at least they're getting information. And that helps more than anything. And we just
And then they
appreciate
can
the
get their
relationship.
questions answered, and then miscommunications don't get
Right.
started in the whole nine.
Right.
So,
Exactly. And
So-
that's my goal. It's
So
hard, but that's my goal because
Thank-
communication travels really fast here.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
if
so
they're
much for
serving
coming
hot
on.
cocoa down there, I'm going to be down there too.
Keith Wilkins, everybody, the interim town manager of Fort Myers Beach. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
They
you very
loved
much.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right,
Thank
Keith.
you.
Thank you so much. He was here for the whole hour, which was
hour and a couple
which
of
was
minutes.
which
Thank you
was
so
nice.
much.
So I didn't get a chance to do what I have to do here, or Marie's going to get all angry. And make sure
Well, I'll
I
let you
read.
do that and start cleaning
Yeah,
up.
don't leave, everybody, because we still have to talk about the beach cleanup. So a couple of things that you need to know about, because when you're rebuilding or planning to rebuild, you may need certain things. You may need money. You may need help. And Laura Sanchez might have money for you. And if you need money to rebuild, Laura's the person to call. Guaranteed rate affinity. Renovation loans can help in many ways. The worst thing that can happen is you can call and find out that it doesn't work for you. The worst thing that can happen on top of that is that you don't call and money's left on the table that you could possibly use to rebuild your home. Give Laura Sanchez a call. She's the vice president of mortgage lending, and her phone number is 239-895-0657. 239-895-0657. Thank you to Laura for being a sponsor of the show. We appreciate her very much. And before we get to the beach cleanup, my hands are freezing. I can't believe I'm acting like such a sissy. Mike Bannock, demolition, debris removal. It's still going on here on Fort Myers Beach. Interior demo, lot leveling, cap off your utilities. Mike Bannock gets all this positive feedback, and you guys send it to me. You know, one of the great things about being a sponsor is you guys write to us and you ask, hey, can you give me a name for this? Can you give me a name for that? And I can give you a name because we found somebody that we trust, and we found somebody that's helped out other people. And Mike Bannock has been on the show. He's been out there helping the community with demolition, debris removal. You know what? One time, like we've told this story 1,000 times, you lifted a boat that was behind a lady's house over the house and got rid of it with a giant crane. Give Mike Bannock a call, 352-636-3719, 352-636-3719. Thanks to Mike. Tomorrow morning, everybody, at 9 o'clock, we're going to be organizing in the frigid weather. Bring your long johns. We'll have hoodies if you need them. And we're going to start cleaning the beach. Thanks to Chris and Ginger Weber for highlighting exactly where we need to go. We're going to go in the brush. We got waders that you guys have donated, and that's going to be from 9 o'clock until. Thank you for posting that. Level Lark. You can support the show too. But tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I'll be there like 7:30, 8 o'clock if you want to start early and get out early. And we're going to make one final sweep on the south end of the beach. We're going to be set up right at the base of the big Carlos Pass Bridge, and leave the trash cans, the trash bags right in the middle of the beach there, and Chris is going to come by with his tractor. We'll have some video for you tomorrow so you can see what everybody's doing, and you'll see how cold we are, just as cold as you guys are out there. Thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you so much for watching the videos. If you didn't see the videos this morning, they were pretty cool. We did one on Main Street, Doc Ford's, Bonita Bill's. In that area down there, there were some boats that I didn't know landed the way they landed. You might want to go back and watch that. And then we went down to Publix and saw that really cool machine that cleans out the sand, takes that, whatever that stuff is, everything, all that stuff in the sand, and shoots it out. And then the sand comes out nice and clean, getting ready to put the sand back out on the beach. All right, everybody, Mondays with the Mayor, 6 o'clock Monday night. Send your questions in. Bye-bye.